Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you all are maintaining a good immunity, exercising regularly, and keeping yourself healthy and safe during this pandemic. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to today's webinar, Green Building, High Rises and Buyer Preferences Post-COVID-19, powered by Dr. Fixits. It's heartwarming to see such a fabulous response to this webinar. My name is Indrajit Sauji. I head the construction and design vertical for ITP in India, and I'll be your host for today. Before beginning the webinar, I would like to know if audio and video are clear. If any issues with the communication, do let us know by the chat so that we can sort it out soon. I repeat, please highlight it in the chat. Let me start with a brief introduction about ITP. ITP Media Group is one of the largest foreign media companies in India. The group now publishes more than 100 weekly and monthly magazines and has a wide portfolio of market-leading properties. Some of our well-known global titles includes magazines like Harper's Bazaar, Vogue, Time Out, Cosmopolitan, Grazia, Construction Week, Architect and Interiors India, and more similar prominent titles across industry verticals. In India, we have 7 titles including Construction Week. Construction Week is one of our largest circulated construction magazines globally with presence across geographies. We have editions in English, Arabic, and recently we have launched our Hindi edition to cater to the larger Hindi-loving audience. Now let me come back to today's webinar. Today we are going to discuss on the topic Green Buildings, High Rises and Buyer Preferences Post-COVID-19. Green buildings and high rises is what everyone would love to live in, but COVID-19 has ruined plenty of plans for the world. The times are unprecedented and no one here and ever seen or experienced this situation earlier. So each one of us have lots of questions like, what will be the buyer's pattern going forward? Will people prefer gated communities or will they prefer standalone buildings? How will the demand for green buildings shape up? Are high rises safe during such pandemics? Will people be able to afford green buildings or it would be a luxury? With rains around the corner, are our properties monsoon ready? And many more such questions. It's time to put our heads together to arrive at a solution to these issues. Fortunately with us, today we have subject experts and industry leaders. We'll chat with them and learn from their experiences and expertise as to how we can prepare ourselves better to survive and to sustain. There is also going to be a poll during a session. Results of the poll will be shared in due course. After each segment, we will be screening a poll. The poll will be live on the screen for a minute. Request each one of you to cast your vote. In case if you have any questions during the course of the session, please feel free to ask them by using the question tab. We have the Q&A session towards the end of the segment where these questions will be answered. Please mention which speaker are these questions addressed to, and we may take a few live questions as well. You may do so by raising the hand icon in the control panel box. My team and I are looking forward to all questions and we will try to answer as many as possible. Without any further delay, let me introduce the legendary panel to you, starting with Mr. Chitty Babu, Chairman and CEO Akshaya, Ms. Mili Majumdar, MD GBCI, Senior Vice President USGBC. We have Mr. Shabbir Kanchwala, Senior VP Raheja Corp. Mr. Shailesh Puranik, MD Puranik Builders. Mr. Sanjay Bahadur, Group CEO, Construction Chemicals Division, Pidilite Industries. We have Jayshree Mendes, Editor for Construction Week. We have Vibhor Srivastava, Group Publishing Director, ITP Media India. Now let me hand over to Mr. Sanjay Bahadur for a brief sponsor message. Over to you, Sanjay.
Yeah, welcome you all to this interesting webinar. As you are aware, Pidilite is a consumer-centric company, very well-known publicly listed company, and is committed to quality and innovation. For decades, we have been pioneering products for small and large applications at home and industry, which have forged strong bonds with people from all walks of life. Adhesives, sealants, waterproofing, construction chemicals, arts and crafts, industrial resins, polymers, and many more. So it's a diverse portfolio. Our brands like Fevicol, Dr. Fixit, Roff, M-Seal, Fevikwik, etc. are now household names. A robust distribution network that Pidilite has makes our product accessible across demographics and geographies. Now, Dr. Fixit, our waterproofing brand, offers a comprehensive, the widest range of waterproofing solutions for homes as well as the tallest buildings in the country. The most premium 5-star hotels, factories, or all types of. We have solutions for new construction as well as repairs. You are well aware it is the largest and the biggest waterproofing brand in the country. We have a Dr. Fixit Advice Center where people can call and ask any question, and we would be happy to answer that anytime. And the number that we have, it is 1800-2095504. It is available on our website, drfixit.co.in. So this is the our general introduction as of now, and I would not like to spend more time and get going with the interesting subject that we have, and we will talk about it from point to point, and what Pidilite is also doing. I'll try to pitch in there. Thank you.
Welcome. Thanks, Sanjay. Very big portfolio, and I guess literally you have solutions for like every vertical in construction. Now, as I mentioned, each one of us have lots of questions and we are seeking quick solutions. So let me start by shooting the questions. This particular question is open to all panelists and each one of you can take turns to answer this. The lockdown has created all kinds of fears. Real estate has been badly affected and is expected to take longer to recover. What are some of the general changes you expect in the industry? So we can start with probably the lady first. Mili, you can like start with your inputs.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be on this panel with so many industry experts. So I think going forward, the industry, as you are rightly saying, is facing tremendous pressure in terms of how we are going to sustain the construction rate at which we were doing, and how we are going to sustain the buyers, the demand for new constructions and new apartments, so on and so forth, as well as commercial spaces. However, I think it's also a time for us, to revisit what green offers to us in terms of optimizing solutions, optimizing costs. And I think it is also a tremendous opportunity to reap the maximum benefits from green. And as we know, green construction not only offers benefits in terms of better, quality of life, better construction typology, better energy efficiency, etc. But it also, kind of offers tremendous opportunity for cost optimization. This is possibly a time where we can take maximum advantage and revisit our standards, policies, strategies to take maximum benefit from green. So I'll take a pause here, and I would like to hear more from other industry experts.
Sure. Mr. Chitty Babu, your inputs?
Good afternoon, friends. I think, we all saying it is an unprecedented time, but we need to remember that I think it's set a reset button for the whole business industry, not only for real estate, for the entire industry. I actually see a huge opportunity in the whole way the whole industry and the whole business is being conducted. It's a great opportunity for all the time the real estate is with innovation, something new to come in every project. The design need to be different, and the marketing efforts need to be different, because each survey number is completely different from one to other. It's typically like our children. We don't have one similar or unique project you don't find anywhere in the world. So this is actually giving a great opportunity for one, the way we are looking at business need to be changed. The way we are designing building need to be changed. The way we are marketing the building need to be changed. The way you are organizing, conducting site visits need to be changed. The way you are selling need to be changed. The way you are delivering need to be changed. Everything need to be in a quicker manner. It need to be faster manner. We need to completely think through and set our new processes. In fact, I remember we are setting up our processes and systems in place over a period of time. Now we are in the 25th year at Akshaya. I think we would have done the re-engineering or reinventing the process only twice in my experience. Once at the beginning, maybe in the inception, maybe about third, fourth year. Then second time, I think in the year of 15th year, PwC has come into the company to set the whole processes in place. Of course, we keep adding that when the work processes are happening, but it doesn't have any meaning to it today. Probably, we need to set the whole thing again and again. The entire processes itself, the entire process is how we conduct business. Now, you will be very cautious in choosing your location. You are going to the fundamentals. You will not go and build everywhere and anywhere. Natural calamity which is happening, I think it need to be connected well with infra. The infrastructure need to be in place for good construction. So start basically from a good location, then design. When it comes to design, I think if you are going green, everything is falling in place. Your cross ventilation, lighting, work from home, every other meaning. Green, typically we started promoting green without telling the benefits to our customers and creating awareness through the green projects. I remember we always asked the architect, please design green project for us. Simple thing. Every other thing fall in place. Typically, your cross ventilation fall in place, the topsoil is kept in place, your heat is reduced. Now the architect puts his mind by just saying, I need only green projects. So we put as a policy from 2008, we do only green projects, and it is actually given amazing results. So COVID is a great opportunity for developer, architect, consultants, people who is associated with this industry. I think is going to see a very different time in the coming years. Only thing is we cannot do what we did in the past. We need to do something completely different in every aspect of business, be it location, design, marketing, sales, site visits, handing over, the speed of construction, the technology, what you are using in the construction. We used to say Maiman is the best. No, I think we need 10 times bigger or 10 times faster than what we do in the past. We may not get manpower at all. See why we depend on our labor here. We are the largest workforce in the globe. After China, probably we are the largest, and unskilled and skilled are plenty, and the cost is very less. Now that is going to be the challenge. It is not going to be available free. It is going to be available at a cost, and probably then we will think, since we are using this labor EC, which is available at a lesser cost, we are not thinking through in the technology, or we are probably not using the best of optimizing the speed through our technology. Now, since the labor is going to cost you more, probably you will think in any other form to reduce manpower and increase your productivity. So it is going to be a very interesting time, which is for all of us. I think whoever is going to be wanted to be in the business, they can definitely make plenty and quite a lot. I'm so happy about the way the things are turning around after COVID. I'm definitely not happy about COVID, but the way it is turning around after COVID is going to be a very interesting part.
Glad to hear so much of positivity after long, and I really hope this positivity is contagious. Like, this session is going to be really interesting today. Over to Mr. Shailesh, for your inputs.
Yeah, good afternoon to all, and thank you, Indrajit. So I think Mr. Chitty Babu covered a lot of things, so maybe I'll like to add certain things. So what we are talking about is the new normal, and then we all have to be ready for the new normal. And there is a shift in a consumer behavior which is happening, and we all need to be aware of that shift. So what happened probably in retail, that you built big malls and suddenly you have online, which is thriving. So I think what is going to happen in real estate, let's understand that the lines between a residential and a commercial real estate are going to get blurred. many people are talking about work from home. In fact, they are thinking of implementing work from home. Famous company came out with this, that 25% only will work from office and everything else will work from home. Now imagine possibilities. Then the people that you can employ can be sitting anywhere in India. He can be sitting in rural area also. Two, if you want to work from home and also want to enjoy the nature, you can be, say, instead of working in staying in Mumbai, you can be staying in your second home in Lonavala, or you can be staying at a far off location like Karjar, where you'll get real estate or a residential real estate very, very cheap. You can build a bungalow there, you can build a farmhouse there, and still you can be working. So we are not thinking of these new things which are likely to emerge. Many things what we see are normal are not going to remain normal. When government is talking about not allowing people to come to office, when government is talking about not allowing visitors to come to office, when government is talking about the new normal being host the online meetings, the very fact that this webinar that we are conducting online, and just imagine that we have to conduct this kind of a seminar physically, the amount of forget about the financial resources. You have to book hotel, you have to go there, everybody travels there, all people travel there, they all spend so much on petrol and so much on diesel, and ultimately it is going to be harmful to mother nature. So if there is anything which can be green, this is the most green concept that can be, because consider there are 300 people and they are supposed to travel to this place. How much of petrol and diesel they would have wasted, how much of pollution they would have created. And look at what is happening now. So I think besides the new normal, there are many, many new things which we have never imagined are going to come up. And we have to be ready with this. If you ask me, how are the times coming to be? These are bad times. I absolutely don't agree with you, because there is an opportunity for us to reset ourselves and restart everything. So when we are saying that we restart, okay, when are we designing? Some points were of course covered by my earlier speaker. So when you are designing a house, you will have to keep an office space. It can be a small office table and a chair, or it can be an independent office room. Something like these things will start coming up, and things like commercial real estate, requirement will go down. Residential real estate requirement is likely to go up, and it's not only going up, it is anywhere in India you can be sitting and working. Forget anywhere in India, anywhere in the world you can be sitting and working. The kind of bandwidth we have good bandwidth compared to many other countries. And then if we are, the very fact that we are conducting this webinar is a example of that. So I think these things will change a lot. We have to be ready with this. We have to imagine a lot and restart and reset. As he was talking about, change your processes, think about what is new going to come up, new normal, and something which we have never imagined. What is it that is going to come up, and how we are going to cater to that, how we are going to cater to customer behavior or a consumer behavior. If he comes to site, so 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, he will now come to site only once, but you have to be geared up with all your digital presence so much that the site or the location goes to his house, and only once, if he is not satisfied, he will want to come to site. So these are some of the things that we need to imagine. If you're looking at the green buildings, again, if you are going to build further down in your peri-urban areas, no need to have high rises. You can have a low rise structure. Again, those are again green buildings that we are talking about. So all is this going to be very good for Mother Earth. All is going to create lesser pollution, and I think we are in for exciting times.
Very well said. So I guess like you want to convey that this is going to be a new norm, and we need to reboot and restart.
Absolutely.
Over to you, Shabbir, like for your inputs. Shabbir, your mic is muted. Like if you can unmute yourself and then.
Oops, sorry. Okay. So the way we look at it at Raheja Corp is obviously these are challenging times for all of us. Having said that, the whole process is undergoing a change for our commercial real estate and for our residential real estate. So one the possibility of IT taking more space from us is there because of social distancing measures. Obviously the area requirements have gone up. So even when we look at government allowing 33% people right now, over a period of time, this is going to change in terms of working. So having said that, we are looking at a scenario where the requirement of commercial office space will go up because we've got feelers from various IT and IT related companies who are looking for a higher amount of space because there are certain client requirements, there are certain client data which is not advisable to work from home. So these obviously would need to work at a particular location. When we look at our green home space, we look at we have high-rise projects at various locations in the west and south of the country. We've got a green home project in South Bombay, Vivaria, which is a high-rise. So our view is different as to high-rise can also be looked at as a green home. Primarily for the reason is that when we look at the whole high-rise space, right from the glass which you're going to use, and you're going to give a door in place of a window. So the glass would have certain parameters which allow the light in and not the heat in. Then, Sanjay has a whole process of making green roofs for us, which does not allow the heat to be penetrated into the building and reflects what is available and what gets heated up in the terrace. So the whole process of green buildings is one which is sustainable and which looks at the whole scenario of COVID in a different way. From an air conditioning point of view, we have worked very closely with the US Green Building Council, where we have looked at various levels of filters for our Artesia project at Worli and at Vivaria, where the 4 or 5 levels of filters in the air conditioning would allow a lot of fresh air to move in, having very higher COPs. And these obviously, help in keeping a lot of the microbes out. So yes, there would be a half a room requirement or a 1 room requirement for an office space in a green home. But we all need to understand that all this is probably going to be there till the time a vaccine is found for this particular COVID, where probably maybe 12 or 18 months down the line, the business requirements will again undergo a change. Thank you.
Yeah. I have a follow-up question for you, Shabbir, since you mentioned about high rises. So a lot of questions are coming on our WhatsApp chat as well as on mails. So this is asked by many of the attendees. So I just wanted to do a follow-up question to you specifically. How safe are high rises during such pandemic? While high population density and traffic in common areas is a concern, there are incidences wherein the infections have spread due to faulty plumbing systems as well. So how do you address these kind of questions going forward? Since as mentioned by all the panelists, this is going to stay and this is going to be a new norm.
So all high rises in India have happened, say, in the last 10 odd years. And the majority of the good builders have used state-of-the-art systems, whether it is plumbing, whether it's electrical, whether it's firefighting, whether it is drainage. So those kind of fears would be unfounded as far as staying in a high-rise goes. I mean, I can say that from a personal experience because I stay in a high-rise, which is a 20-story building. And yes, we do have a COVID case in our particular wing on the 6th floor. But it was very easy for BMC to isolate only one wing instead of isolating the entire other 5 wings. So there are a lot of positives in some form as far as the COVID-19 goes. So also please understand that the number of lifts which are provided in a high rise, or the structural design which goes in the high rise, or for that matter the green parameters which go into the high rise, are also state of the art, and they have just evolved in the last 5 or 10 years. So I would not hesitate to stay in a high rise, if given the choice.
Thank you. Sanjay, for your inputs.
Okay, I think we realize these are changing preferences of the customers, and we would like to remain close to the customers to understand how Pidilite should react in short term, medium term, and long term. And it's a subject which has to be evolved on an ongoing basis. So as of now, what I would say is that whatever may happen, certain things which certain are a certainty is that wherever we may build, whichever style we may build, we will have to build in a manner that there is thermal comfort for the people who are living inside or who are working inside. So clearly, as far as if we focus around that piece alone, as I'm just saying from my perspective, is that therefore, when the thermal comfort becomes an important thing, of course, healthy living, ventilation, all these things will be there as a part of the whole thing. And what would probably change now is that lesser number of mechanical ventilation hours may be better for the buildings that are designed, which are so that they are more healthy. While doing that, we will have to construct in a manner that the walls and the roofs are insulated well, and then there is of course a little more thought to be given as to how the testing could be carried out in a different manner. There is thermal mass movement that happens. So just small, we don't have enough testing facilities in India, therefore should Pidilite do something about it? There is something called lab scale climatic condition chambers. So that could be created, how the simulation could be done physically, so that the way of construction that can evolve in the end is much, much smarter than what we do today. So today we do not, we do little bit of computer simulation, etc. But there are other places in the world where now you actually see what is the outside temperature and simulate it and actually see what is the internal temperature, how it goes on from day 1 to day 7, how the thermal mass movement takes place. That will help choosing and changing the building materials. We feel that there is a innovation that's going to happen in the walling front for sure. The wall panels, the way because 70% of the heat gain is from the wall and the roof. If we are able to prevent the building from that, we will be able to improve thermal comfort, apart from, of course, the design aspects which are there. So we will focus in working towards that and innovate in that perspective.
Thank you. Over to you, Vibhor.
No, absolutely wonderful, and such a pleasure to see all of you one more time. And I think it's a perspective that everybody gave, which is like so very enthralling and so very, practical. I think, first and foremost, what I think and I understood, I think this is a matter of time, and I think one needs to unlearn and create a space in our system, in our fabric, to assimilate and actually ensure that we take all the signals that are available to us. Mr. Chitty Babu said there is virtually everything will change. And I will not shy away to say that even in our media practice, there are so many changes happening virtually by the hour. But what I get very intrigued, and Mr. Bahadur very rightly say that it's going to be kind of materials and what is that we are using, which will enhance, the safety quotient, the hygiene factor in it. I still would go back to ask the same question. I know we talked about green, but I still want to understand what is that going to be, especially from a developer point of view. What would be the journey that would like to see or expect in the short term in terms of green, green homes? Would they have enough bias to that? And also in this learning curve, is the mandate also to ensure that we are changing we are also orienting our customers as well. Because at the moment, customer is also very, very confused. We can start with Mr. Chitty Babu. Mr. Chitty Babu, your mic. Mr. Chitty Babu, your mic.
Yeah, please, sir. I'm sorry, I couldn't able to
I
follow.
said, I know, I said I loved every aspect and every panelist gave a lot of in. I just wanted to understand two perspectives from the developer side, how much of emphasis, and I think green will be the norm. It's no longer a fact, it's a reality. So that's one. And the second thing that I wanted to understand, in all of this learning, how are we making sure that our customers are also learning through the chain, are also evolving in the same process?
Yeah, see, I always don't want to do a green building. I would always love to see my city becoming green.
Yeah.
I would say when Tamil Nadu is going to be green, when the entire city, Chennai, is going to be green. See, if the practices are going to be common, and if that creation of awareness is being made to the decision makers, policy makers, and also the users. End of the day, the consumer is not really giving much importance to this green building as on today, because he is not really understanding what is the benefit which is going to come out of it. See, I would not say even the developer is going to incur cost by building a green building. It is not so. In fact, if you insist that design from the architect from the day one, my architect is not asking a separate fee for doing a green project. I not come across with any architect asking for a separate fee for designing a green building. See, typically what the design gives proper location, of course, and the project is going to be probably well elevated from the infrastructure road, and this is the basic. And then they are, of course, going to safeguard the trees if by part of the design if it is a large project. Then, of course, that topsoil is going to be removed and kept safe and brought it back to the construction site. This is the basic fundamental. Then, of course, when it comes to water, rainwater is saved and the underground water is being tested thoroughly for construction, and also they make sure that available resources are available in the water. When it comes to heat restriction, I think they are definitely planning the top roof to be laid in the proper manner, and it is being protected well with tiles. And when it comes to ventilation, the windows are kept in a proper manner, cross ventilation, common walls are being treated well. I think the whole thing comes in the design itself. I don't see we are spending any additional cost to achieve either platinum, gold. I don't even say to my team that we want platinum. It's an output. We wanted to get a design which takes care of the green norms. The output becomes either green, silver, gold, or platinum. It's an output. But what we are enjoying is the energy saving and the water saving in the project. The end consumer is going to be benefited by the usage. When they are using it, the electricity charges are going to be less. The water consumption is going to be less. But today, we have a serious concern. The people are not really appreciating the difference between a common building and a green building. So I would rather strongly recommend, and I always fight for this cause. This need to start from our policy makers, decision makers, and all our approving authorities, and as we as the developers stand together to do only green projects hereafter. See, the norm should be changed that you should develop only green projects. Then people will appreciate and understand the efficiency which is coming out of the green building.
Very well. I will quickly get to Mili on this. I think what Chitty Babu said, that there should not be a alternate. It should be a must, that you must do a green. I mean, it should be a wake-up call for all of us. What would you like to say?
So, as Mr. Chitty Babu mentioned, that green is really not something, for which you have to strive too much. So these are the basics which makes livable buildings and which makes the building efficient and good for everybody. Now, if you see the current pandemic situation, and let me try to relate, if a project is green, how the users would have benefited. See, right from, as was mentioned, right from locating the project well. So which means if you locate the project well, it's a walkable community, you have access to basic services, then, you do not have to rely on vehicular transportation. So that is one of the basic of green, you know. Then if you have, say, adequate open spaces, if you have spaces to spill out, then, you know, that provides opportunity for social distancing. So if you have a better indoor environmental quality through, you know, better daylighting, better thermal comfort, ventilation, better filtration, etc., then automatically you will have lesser concentration of pollutants. So all of these measures which you take in a green building consciously, so they are good for the users. They are not something, you know, that cost anything more. And as has been rightly you know, spoken about, these are really, in fact, we have enough statistics and numbers to prove that if you look at the overall life cycle cost, you know, of a building, right from construction to overall operation and maintenance, green is much more, you know, much cheaper. And look at the additional cost, the health cost. You know, for example, right now we are paying huge price because of the health of the people. So these are all unforeseen costs which are not quantifiable. So if you look at the overall, you know, benefits of green, both from what you spend actually and these additional costs, it is much, much cheaper. And these strategies which are embedded. So I would also say that, you know, projects that are already certified to green, they are now definitely reaping the benefits. You know, they are, say for my office, when I go back to office, I can easily implement social distancing because I have a free address, you know, kind of a policy. Anybody can come and sit in any space. I have UV filtration in my, you know, in the AHUs. The filtration systems are cleaned regularly. So really, you know, for us to go back to office, we do not have to implement anything that is, you know, specific other than the basic sanitization through the routes which we go to office to. So I think, you know, it should become compulsory normative, and as an industry, we have evolved a lot. There is much more to be done, and all of us put together, we can have a lot of good education and training around people to make it the, you know, usual practice.
Very well, Mili. I think you really said it, and I think there will be more incentives coming for the developers from your side in terms of the rating. Though Chitty Babu said the output is important and you would get a rating there in the course, but I definitely believe and echo with the sentiments that you raised that there is sea mark changed over the period of time, how green buildings are reaping the benefits even today. Shailesh, bringing you in very quickly, and hello, it's been many years that we met last. And you really have the Thane belt, and which is green, lush green, I would say. And your projects were definitely imbibing in each of the projects that I have seen. So how is your take on this, and how are you going to take this post-pandemic? You know, how are you going to make your customers have a moment of delight by giving projects which are green, hygiene, and everything all encompassed?
Yeah. So I think a couple of things that my two speakers have earlier mentioned some of things. One of the things that I want to mention that over a period, what has happened with this MOEF regulations coming in, there are a lot of things which have become mandatory. So in that way, our buildings are much more greener than what they were earlier. Say you take example of say STPs or sewage treatment plants or rainwater harvesting, vermicomposting, and the way your external skin of the building is in case of commercial, in case of even residential, how your top slab is, how is heat conducting, all that. If you talk about all these things, there are a lot of things which have become mandatory today. There is one issue, of course, when you have implemented, for example, you have built a STP or a sewage treatment plant in your complex, or you have a vermicomposting in your complex. A consumer, when a society or somebody's apex body is taking over, it is very important that they need to maintain it. It is very important that they understand the importance of it. It is very important that they will understand that if I do this right, if I do this rainwater harvesting right, or if I do this STP right, and my flushing and domestic water is separate, and I'm using this water for flushing, I'm using this water for cleaning of cars, I'm using this water for landscaping. So after they have understood it, after they have reaped benefits, for them to be able to continue it, because we are giving the all the infrastructure. It is for them, because we are there in that project for 1, 2, or 3 years. It is for them to run it for next 20 and 25 years. and to make it sustainable, to continue being a green project. I think that is what is important. Couple of locations government has come up with rebates, like in Thane Municipal Corporation has a property tax rebate, for example, if you have a building green, or if you are segregating your sewage, or if you are taking care of your own sewage and garbage and all that. So these are some of the things that, for consumer also should become mandatory. They are becoming mandatory. If you look at, especially post-pandemic, now let's look at, post-COVID situation. Of course, buildings which are greener will be much more efficient in dealing with this post-pandemic era. And as I said, there are a lot of things which will be like a new normal, which will have to change. Somebody talked about commercial real estate, and then now the requirement of space going up. Or I mentioned that, your office will become your, your home will become your office, and then, how it will be more green than, many other things put together. Or the way you are designing buildings, the way you are constructing buildings, the way you are maintaining the buildings, how is the entry happening, how, what are some of the things that you are checking at the entry, and the day-to-day running of the operations. I think everything is going to be there is going to be a sea change. Just few days ago, I have been working on this processes of, how construction is going to be, how your office is going to be run, what kind of visitors, how many visitors you will allow. So whether visitor will be allowed to come to your floor, or whether he'll sit down and then do a video conferencing with you, things like that. Once you have come back to your home from your office, what are some of the things that you need to do? So all these things will undergo a sea change. They are changing, in fact. And post pandemic, we will see buildings which are more greener, which are more sustainable in nature, and which are more in tune with the nature. Some of the, you get so many WhatsApp videos these days. Some birds have come down, some, dolphins are swimming near the Marine Drive. In one of my projects, there was a leopard sitting in the still for 2 days. So this is the kind of, things which are changing because there is a lockdown is there. So I think we need to learn to coexist, and it's coexist with the nature, coexist with the animals, coexist with the birds. If you go out in your balcony, or stand in a window, any window you go to, and you see a lot of birds chirping, which you have probably never seen, never heard. So these are the changes. So we better accept and learn to live or coexist with the nature, Mother Nature. That's what I would say.
No, absolutely. I think those are golden words, coexist. And I'm very amused on the leopard part for sure. But, and they must be also wondering what's happened to all of us. Where's the mankind has disappeared, and all the world is, and the whole space is ours. Shabbir, very quickly, and please unmute your mic as well. We've been focusing on the green, and I think green is Mili, and everybody, with Chitty, Babu, Shailesh, and absolutely everybody unanimously agrees to that. You're doing high-rise building, and there are challenges to put those green elements there. What is that you are doing to make sure that, your projects are sustainable, green, affordable as well?
So, how I would look at it is whether it's a 7-story building, or it's a 20-story building, or it is it's a building which kind of in between. The process of making a building green is not really very different. You use a glass with a high UV value, with a shading coefficient, so which allows the light in and not the heat in. You provide rainwater harvesting. You provide sewage treatment plant which recycles the water, and your flushing water is the recycled water. You use that water for gardening around the garden complex of a high rise, or use that for washing the number of cars which are more in a high rise building. Or you look at your toilets. So whether it's a toilets where you look at a dual flushing system with lesser water flow, or you look at the wash basin, a lesser flow rate of taps. Or if you were to look at electrical, you would look at LED lights. You would look at various firefighting systems, which actually make a high-rise building safer than otherwise. From a COVID point of view, there are a lot of things which we are planning to do differently. We have introduced the concept of touchless, which is going to come in a big way in our offices and in our homes. So right from the time when you enter the building till the time you reach your flat. So we have gone far ahead and spoken to a lot of lift vendors who are looking at giving us touchless option right from the time you press the main button of the lift to your floor button and till the time you reach the flat. Obviously, the entrance of your building where the watchman cabin is going to undergo a change, because if you were to look at the watchman looking at doing temperature checks of all the residents as well as the visitors, if you were to look at providing thermal screening cameras at the entrance for each and every visitors. So these would be COVID specific things which would be taken up for a high-rise green home. So from a whole building perspective, the fact that we are having this video conferences is a part of the touchless mantra, which we are looking at. The same thing which we are looking at offices, that if you were to enter a toilet in an office, so the door would have something which can open, and when you enter the office, all the taps would have sensors. The paper napkin would come out with a with a sensor. The soap dispenser would be a touchless soap dispenser. So also the sanitizers which are going to get provided at various locations or various floors of an office or building will be touchless. So these are small practical things which we have started working on, and which which will help my customers from the entire gamut. The affordability of a home obviously has a lot of other factors other than the green cost, because the location, the finishes, the type, all that also play a larger role. But having said that, but yes, the half a room or a smaller extra room requirement is going to be now prominent in deciding by a home buyer, in any part of India now. Thank you.
No, you really touched and I think very multifaceted approach. And I think what in high rises that you're typically adopting is a complete play of technology and digitization, which I think is inevitable and imperative as well to do. I would like to bring Mr. Bahadur in. Mr. Sanjay Bahadur, can you unmute your mic, please? Mr. Bahadur, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, excellent. So I think you're a very forward-looking company and known for innovation and a very out-of-box and being the first in providing solutions and and products which are like state-of-the-art. And I think this is the time a lot is expected. And you earlier said that you're watching the customer preferences and the building's behavior and the life cycle and everything. How are you going to see post-COVID, and how are you going to partner with the entire community and stakeholders, which is your developer, architects, consultants, everybody together to give that winning products and technology, which will bring the developers what they're really trying to make a customer have?
Sure. So firstly, Pidilite, our philosophy is very clear. It is chemistry in the service of solving civil engineering problems. The construction problems will emerge differently due to changes in practices that may happen. And at chemistry, we have to resolve them and find out a solution. So obviously, we will have to work with the architects and engineers and the builders to arrive at solutions which will be useful for them and also for consumers. So we are watching very closely, and as I said that we have short-term and then medium-term and long-term plans. I touched upon what we would like to do in green buildings, which right now is not happening in the country. We would also, of course, look at, I think when it comes to waterproofing, since we lead this segment, clearly spray systems, mechanized, because labor scarcity will be there. Technologies will have to be, suitable chemical technologies will have to be brought in, and to do waterproofing in a smarter manner. Then when it comes to probably the in the longer run, even I don't know, but it may be a little early to say, but we may like to look at coming up with hygiene coatings, the houses where we live in, or the schools where the children go, the paints should be really hygienic paints, so antimicrobial paints should be there, and all sorts of such technologies will emerge. The construction also will move a lot, probably in longer run, to off-site construction. Therefore, need to have better sealants when they're assembled at sites, more spray systems, mechanizing things. So all this will lead to evolving solutions, which we are committed to develop and work with architects, consultants, and bring it forward.
Wonderful. I think we really got every panel member to really contribute immensely on the way they're looking forward their projects, how they are looking to work cohesively as one team to deliver the ultimate. Indrajit, back to you.
I guess Jayshree have some questions for the panelists.
Yeah, what I would like to know is green construction. Okay, we're talking about green construction, green buildings, but what is the extent of green materials used to make a green building? And secondly, how much of it is actually used? And maybe, Mili could start first, and then, we could move on to the others.
So thanks, very, very important question when we talk about, because most of our conversation on green buildings are restricted to energy efficiency, water efficiency, and we really do not talk about, greener materials. So of course, one aspect of greener materials are the ones which Mr. Bahadur pointed out, materials that are used to have, say, better thermal insulation and protect your, kind of enclosures from pollutants coming in, etc. But the other part of the conversation is the embodied energy, that goes into materials, say even extraction, production, disposal, and so that part is very, very crucial. And when we are looking at, and the second aspect of materials, greener materials, is the health aspect, the toxicity. So we unknowingly use many materials in the current construction industry, which have a very serious, health impact, and more awareness is growing around it. And with the current pandemic, I think it will be very crucial for us to look at health product declarations and other issues around when we're talking about greener materials. And of course, when we are talking now, if you look at construction of high rises and materials that are qualified as green materials as gets into the construction, we have certainly things like, say, better thermal insulating products. We have, say, aerated concrete blocks or insulation or roof insulation or better windows, which help you to save energy. So I would say that more than in residential sector, in commercial buildings, we do see a lot of use of greener materials, both in the construction as well as in the interiors. Residential, still we have to go a little bit longer way. But this whole discussion around what is green, looking on embodied energy and the health aspects of green materials should be more and more standardized and brought into. And that is also one niche area which I think all of us should work together. And the consumer would definitely be very sensitive to it.
Chitty Babu, maybe you could tell us, because you are known for green building. What is the kind of green materials that you use?
In my mind, I think the simplest to get into a green material specific, I would simply say the locally made available material. Anything not transported from a faraway place. I'll make it simple for any material for that matter. If it is made available locally, if something is not imported from anywhere, from place to place, I think it definitely takes care of the norms of the green. It's actually simplified the whole thing by making use of the locally made available material. That's green. And more than that, by introducing few things like garbage chute into your project, or piped gas in your connected home in your project, or having the waste management implemented in your project, I think the projects are going to speak for volumes for years to come. by doing the garbage chute, your hygiene factor is going really high, because people are in a high-rise building where you house 2,000 homes or 100 homes, 200 homes. The hygiene is going to be a critical factor. When you provide this garbage chute, the servant maids are not really carrying the garbage through the lifts up and down every time. And in a periodical manner, if it is being getting collected at the source and it is being used by the garbage chute, you are actually leaving a huge good print mark in the building for years to come. The same way, when you're doing a pipe gas connection in a project, your city may not have the centralized city gas connection through pipes today, but if you are making this provision in your projects, it's actually avoiding so much of traffic, so much of traffic of people coming into your home specifically, people using your lift to carry your gas cylinder, and also the number of vehicles which is moving on the road across, in the entire city will come down drastically. Actually, these things which makes huge impact in the overall society on the green making and the green projects. So I would say the materials locally made available for the projects will be actually as simple as the going green.
Shabbir, maybe you could also tell us about what is the kind of materials you look at, whether it's commercial or it's residential. Your mic is on mute.
Sorry. So we do use a lot of material which is, please excuse me, I'm working from mobile phone, so not very conducive. So having said that, we had provided this garbage chute in our project in Bavaria at Mahalakshmi, where we imported this technology from Sweden, where segregation of dry and wet garbage was initiated almost 8 to 10 years back when it was not mandatory in Mumbai. And this gets converted right at the end in manure, and then this manure is used for the garden podium gardens in that particular high rise. The list of green materials is actually endless. If you look at AAC blocks, aerated concrete blocks, if you look at recycled material, if you look at aluminum which gets used, that has got a recycled content. If you look at glass which gets used, that has got a recycled content. If you were to look at if you enter a commercial office, if you look at the carpet, a green office will have carpet which has got a certain amount of recycled content. If you look at the wood which is going to get used, either it is recycled wood or it is wood from a certified FSCI forest, which means that a forest where if an X amount of tree gets cut, 3 times X amount of trees are planted again. So whether you look at interior material which has got these kind of recycled content, when you look at using fly ash in your ready mix concrete, which is actually the byproduct of a power plant, so that also makes that material as a green material. So the list is endless in terms of how you would use them in any form of a green building.
Sanjay, I have one question for you. Sanjay, can you tell us, you already spoke about it, but I wanted you to expound a little more on the construction practices that will change post-COVID.
So again, in the long run, there is a possibility that a lot of off-site construction may start, so that assembling at site will happen. In the medium term, of course, we'll have to choose methods and technologies where the labor requirement is less. So therefore, it has to be a smarter way of construction. As I said earlier, in the fields that we are involved in, we would look at more spray technologies rather than using a brush. And same way, so therefore, whether it is constructing green or constructing a high rise, I'm sure the buildings will be designed and constructed a little differently. Civil engineering technologies are available, the adoption will happen. So it will be different now. and there will be more innovation which will happen to push technologies which require less manpower and the productivity is higher. This would be the broad direction, I believe.
How would you change construction practices now going forward?
As I said earlier, we would be close to the consumer. We'll look at at present, the customer is responding to, changes which are substantial. The retail is going into now more of net, and as we were saying, the customer preferences will change, and we would have to be close to them, and we'll accordingly keep innovating. We are doing continuously anyway. So again, our projects will be short term, medium term, and long term, different projects.
Shailesh, how would you change construction practices now and henceforth, going forward?
So, as I said, there are certain things I already mentioned, but when you're looking at changing and when you're looking at green buildings and going forward, see, it's not only the construction technology and it's not only the materials that you use for any project. I think the most important thing is when you are at a design stage. Uh, how is the design? Are you taking care of the local climatic changes? What is the kind of monsoon that you receive? How is the sun movement in your area? How are you building your buildings to take care of that? And are you designing your building so that more natural light is coming inside? Are you designing your building so that you don't have to use more of insulation material? So I think there are three parts. First is the design of a green building, and second is the construction of a green building. When a lot of things which most of the people have mentioned, like green materials, I do agree. I think the most important thing is a material which is available locally is the most green material, because if you're trying to import something recycled material from the other part of the India, the amount of energy which is consumed by in transporting that material will not match up with the kind of benefits that you're getting. So there are various green technologies which you use during construction, and I think the third part, which is the most important part, is how consumer is using these technologies, this design in his day-to-day life. So if you're designing a residential apartment which has a better light and ventilation, so he will will not switch on lights during daytime. So you have achieved one. If he's not switching on AC frequently unless it is really hot, because of good ventilation to his apartments, again, it's a green design that you can give him. And of course, the other things like, which I had earlier mentioned, like vermicomposting and rainwater and all that. So, you're in some areas, you're going back to basics. So for example, earlier, you will not in, rural area, if you go to the ground is not constructed. So the whatever rain falls, it gets absorbed in the soil. Then you are building concrete, and now you are going back to the material wherein it is allowing more of rainwater getting absorbed in the soil. So there are certain things which you are going back to what they were earlier, because they were the green practices which we had not followed. For example, you had courtyards inside the house, or so that there is a better ventilation, so you will get it remains more cooler during summer times. And you had really large walls so that it is really cold inside, so you have a cavity wall now, for example, and things like that. So I think it's not only material which will have to undergo change. Of course, if you have to make it green, and of course for the post-COVID area, it's the design, the construction, entire process, and the use by the ultimate user. I think these three things we need to look at, and these three things we have to change. It will start from the drawing board, but
Indrajit, I think over to you.
Yeah, we'll take a quick poll and then move on to the next question. So we'll have a poll live for a minute. So the question is, do you think you would buy a home in a green building and be willing to pay more? We have two options, yes and no. Even the panelists can vote for this. Yeah, you can take the poll down now. And if the panelists allow, can I take a live question? There are a lot of people raising hands and they want to come live to ask a question. If you allow, I'll just take a live question.
Sure.
So we have Mr. Sunil Kejriwal. Rohan, can you take Sunil live? Meanwhile, I'll read out one question that had come up from a viewer online. Uh, he wants to ask, will energy efficiency take a backseat to antiviral safeguard? When we talk about green buildings, it's basically like energy efficiency and sustainable products that we use. Will it take a backseat to antiviral safeguards? That's what they want to check with the panelist. So anyone can, yeah, Mili, yep.
Yeah, I don't think it conflicts, so both can go hand in hand. Just to give you an example, if you have, say, a better and efficient air conditioning system, you can couple it with, better filtration and better technologies to introduce the antiviral component to, basically cleansing the air. Similarly, if you use, say, better paints, as well as introduce a green cleaning policy on high touch surfaces, that does not compromise with energy efficiency. So they can go hand in hand.
Okay. Any panelists would like to add on to it, or I go on to the next question then?
So I would quickly say that they complement each other, because that's what I meant when you look at whether you look at touchless or whether you look at any kind of disinfectant requirements. Say right now for homes, all societies would like to do that. The disinfectants maybe on a bi-weekly basis. So all that would definitely complement in terms of. So there would be a space requirement for putting the disinfectant cans and the storage systems. So the housekeeping room will undergo a change. The watchman cabin will undergo a change. So these would all go together.
Okay. So moving on to the next question then. I guess Sunil is online. Sunil Kejriwal, can you unmute yourself and introduce and ask the question to the panelist you want to direct the question to? Sunil, can you unmute yourself? No, I guess.
Indrajit, let's move on to the next one.
Yep. This one is for yeah, this is from Bala Subramaniam. He wants to ask, will home buyers and commercial space leasers pay more for green buildings than a regular building?
So can I take that?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So I would say no, because as far as Raheja Corp is concerned, we were the first ones when we started on this journey around 12 years back in constructing green buildings in this country. When the US Green Building Council did that corporate office for us. So right now it is actually an SOP for our IT customers who have the principals in the US and Europe. So there is no premium which either a commercial leasing office guy or a green home buyer really pays for a green home, because that's the SOP now. So the IT customer looks for a LEED Gold certified green office. Yes, in case of a green home, there is a lot more propaganda which needs to be done in terms of the benefits of a green home, both from a sustainability perspective and the additional antiviral requirements which will get added. But there is no real premium which gets paid for this, because the costs of constructing a green building have gone down considerably in terms of from what your baseline is.
Okay. Anyone else would like to add on to this, or should we move on to the next question? I guess this question is for Sanjay. Mr. Rajanan Kanhaiya is asking this. In general, when we add super plasticizers, how long the concrete can be placed in position? I came across many clients without looking at holistic way, they go by only 2 hours. What's your view on that?
Because this is actually this is not a question for this subject though. However, there are best is to ask the manufacturer, because there are different type of plasticizers, super plasticizers, which work differently. And it is always good to do a lab trial first to understand how long it lasts. And the manufacturer will be able to advise you. There is no standard norm.
Okay. And Sanjay, there is again a question for you. When like they want to know what all innovative products Pidilite have, like for green buildings, and like with monsoon, like just around the corner, like what all products you recommend, and like will application of waterproofing change from like the traditional waterproofing that the developers are doing now? Will it change, or will it like remain the same?
Okay, so I think there are two mixed questions, so I'll try to answer. We have got, like for roofing, we have got Dr. Fixit LEC system, which Shabbir had mentioned. We do for all Raheja projects and many more. It's a very large business that we have. We do for very important projects around the country, which is for all green buildings. So it is insulation cum waterproofing systems. Dr. Fixit is a waterproofing brand now. From creating solutions which are to do with waterproofing, we are adding insulation to it also. But our always a focus is it should be the buildings have to be protected from water and heat both. So there are solutions to that effect. As far as the other thing, and of course we have got walling solutions also. We have come up with now doing EIFS, and there are many more range that we are planning to introduce. The other question is regarding the coming monsoons. It's too short a time. So of course there are repair solutions which are there. It's nothing different for a green building though. Of course there are roof coatings which have high SRI value. I think the code talks about 78. We have our SRI values are more than 100, which are again our design is we have created coatings which do waterproofing and also conform to high SRI both. So there are products to that extent as far as roofing is concerned. And that is true, that is applicable for all types of buildings, be an individual home or a CHS. We have got easy product which can be applied before monsoons on the roof, which will also do a bit of with a higher reflectance, and do waterproofing as well. So this is the answer. I think this answers the questions, I believe.
Yeah, and they have also asked, like, will the application change? Like, post-COVID, will the application change, or like?
I personally feel strongly that people will go for more spray applied systems.
Okay, so rather than going for like a
instead of brush or roller, it will be more spray. So that far larger productivity and social distancing is easily possible, less manpower, etc.
Thanks, Sanjay. Over to you, Babu.
I think firstly, this the whole session and the way questions are shooting is very, very motivating and encouraging to see people, the audience. So thank you, audience. Absolutely that you are very much engrossed with us as much as we are devouring the session. I think I'm just going to very quickly ask every panelist, and in the sense, what is your mandate and what is your mantra of success going forward in post-COVID? Just about a small 30-second because I'm just looking at the watch as well. So
Yeah.
what is your mantra? What is the recipe of success in which every stakeholder feels profitable and also feels a part of the winning team? We can start with Mr. Chitty Babu, and one by one we can take. Did my question is clear? What I'm saying, what is that recipe of success post-COVID? Chitty Babu, your mic is off, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
In my mind, there is only one word which is coming and repeatedly ringing is innovation. Innovate in whatever you do. Let it be design, let it be marketing, let it be sales, let it be post-sales service. You need to be innovating every point of time, every minute by minute. It is not for something to do tomorrow. You can't repeat, and you can't repeat the success formula. What we have worked actually very well in the past cannot be repeated. I think innovation is the key going forward in any business, not only in real estate. In any business, innovation is the key. We were wondering and thinking that when Ola and Uber comes in, the market is completely changing for that particular industry. When Zomato and the food Swiggy has come in, we thought the other industry is gone. It's not like that. I think in my mind, innovation is the key thing. We thought real estate is a business which is not going to be disturbed at all by any means. But we all saw how the whole thing is stopped for last 45 days. So the disturbance is going to happen. If it is COVID happened, I think I remember well when tsunami hit Chennai, I never heard this word called tsunami. I don't even understand what is tsunami. But after hearing that, we used to hear that very often happening across the world. So once it has happened, we are seeing it happening very often. So when we see this happening now, probably we can come across this in various forms. So we need to be completely prepared, and the way we are living life will be completely changing. So innovation is the key. The only mantra what I have in mind, and I keep repeatedly telling my people, is just innovate. I don't require you to sell anything. Just go on doing innovating things in your whatever field you are. I think that is going to work phenomenally well for everybody.
Wonderful. I think that's one very solid word. Innovate, innovate, innovate. Mili, what's your success mantra? And I think that you will touch the lives of many developers here and lots of my friends and developers watching.
Thank you. So I think, this has taught us a lot, the COVID situation, because we were suddenly pushed into this, and now whatever we are doing are reactionary. We are doing, kind of a post-COVID plan, but had we been, a little bit more diligent with our approach, a proactive planning helps much better. So we have to now, we have to be forward-looking and be doing proactive planning, better, resilience. So 4 pillars which we talk about, which is success mantra of the organization. Definitely equity. We are seeing the issue about equity more than ever. How the economy is suffering and how people down the line, they are suffering. So equitable, kind of way of looking at the developments that we kind of influence. Resilience in planning. Sustainability certainly remains the core. And most importantly, we need to realize that health and well-being of people is the centerpiece, when we talk about green. So green is no longer a choice that, either this way or that way we can make it. It should be a must. And we can only do this through, empowering people and educating them adequately. And we are all, we are with all of you together in this so that we do not face this situation again going forward.
Wonderful, Mili. I think the pillars of success, and even in a building, if you have a strong foundation, building will last. So will be the fabric of the whole society. Coming very quickly to you, Shabbir, your take, very quick take, so that I can wrap up the whole discussion. So
you obviously have the 3 mantras in sustainability: reduce, reuse, and recycle. So we've looked very strongly at a mantra which is not only for green buildings but for the entire business. We are looking at reinventing. So we've started with having a core team which looks at only reinventing whether you look at reinventing construction practices, whether you look at reinventing sustainable practices, or you look at reinventing systems and processes. So for us at Raheja Corp, reinventing is the mantra now.
I'm getting to learn a lot, innovate, reinventing, pillars of success. This is a great session. Shailesh bhai, what's your, and I want one word to come like this, you may take more time, but one word should emerge.
So I have 3 words for you. So envisage.
I'm spoiled for choices.
Yeah. So envisage, adapt, and speed. I think we all had been listening, and we all had been hearing that there might be a black swan event and there might be a disturbance, and but nobody had planned, nobody had prepared for this. We were all caught off guard. So it's not that you will see this kind of situation, but maybe a completely different kind of situation in the future. But you need to envisage that, that something like this, something out of the ordinary is going to come, hit you. How do you prepare? So envisage. Once it hits, even if you have planned, you'll be, maybe envisage that situation, you'll be able to adapt better. Even if you are not planned, but you have planned something similar, you will be adapt better. And how fast you are adapting to that situation. I think speed. I think these 3 things will determine the success for any organization in future.
Very well. No, thanks a ton. I think envisage, adapt, speed. And I think speed is the essence. Sanjay, very quickly, coming to you and hungry for, yes, one more.
Our mantra would be get closer to the customers and influencers, identify the unmet needs due to changing preferences, and then innovate.
That was really short and sweet. And ladies and gentlemen, all our lovely viewers who have been tuned in, thank you so much. You have been very kind to us. I really devoured the session as much as I hope everybody else. I think that was a very enriching session. We straddled across the spectrum of the challenges, opportunities. But one thing which remained the threshold is that green is here. Green is not a fad. It's a reality. You accept it. It's a winner. And I think, it's a great panel to Indrajit and Jayashree to actually, make this big, and having, Mr. Sanjay Bahadur as well on the panel to see how, I wouldn't call vendor or product company. I will say they're partners, how partners bring their solutions, their technology to make all of us in the ecosystem stay ahead. And I think at ITP Media, and especially I think my editor Jayashree will echo the sentiments. Green at ITP and especially at Construction Week, we really cherish. We are really proud of it, and we take opportunity to tell you we do a lot of initiatives on that. And I think this session got us to believe that, look positive, look ahead, stay up. And I think be innovative, be resilient, reinvent, reduce, reuse, recycle, reinvent, envisage, adapt, speed. My goodness, so much of thing. But with your permission, I want to also say that keep experimenting as well. Don't have a fixed, career. Don't have a fixed recipe. I've, for once in my time, I cook something for my child, my daughter. I keep reinventing. And every time I experiment, I go to the next level. And she says very fondly, every time when you do, that brings a difference. So ladies and gentlemen, keep trying, keep innovating, keep reinventing, keep experimenting at ITP Media. Thank you once again for all. And a huge namaste from all of us to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And also on 17th of May, Sunday, don't forget to tune in at 6 p.m. We are putting a global designer panels from all over the country, from SOM to Rafiq from Bangladesh to Raheja to US and James Law in Hong Kong, to see what is the future design going to look like, designing the new world. Thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you guys.